It is the one, the only Cooper Mays, the Vol Report, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Over 50 years. That's right, 50 years in HVAC, and integrity matters. They built that reputation. It is important. Cooper, how are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm great. Cannot complain at all. How are
We're
you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm doing well. We're going to talk some Cooper today and to talk about how he first started seeing that he was going to be a darn good football player and more. But first, right before we were bouncing on, we saw Byron Young run a 4.51 40. I was surprised. You weren't that surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be surprised by that number. I'm not because I've been around him, so that's I know what he's capable of. But he's definitely probably one of the best athletes I've ever been around. Just purely athleticism and size and everything. He's a pretty special human for sure.
Yeah, great story too about how he got to this point. But also, I think one of the things that gets overlooked with Josh Heupel, and I was talking about this to somebody earlier today, is the player improvement from one year to another. Everybody wants to talk about his offense and recruiting and what he's been able to do, but really the player development, I think, gets overlooked a little bit.
I think so too. I think the biggest thing with that is, I was just in the facility, 30 minutes ago, and it's 5 o'clock in the day or whatever, and kids are just out there hanging out, or players. I call them kids. My friends, players are out there are just hanging out, getting extra work on the field, and this is just this is an everyday thing where people just love being around the facility and getting extra work. That's the difference, from a good team and a bad team, in my opinion, is if you're a bad team, you're probably looking at it as like punishment or like an obligation, and like I have to do this. And as soon as you get done with your required stuff, you get out, because you don't want to be in there anymore. But when you're winning and you're a successful team, and you kind of yearn for more progress, and it feels good when you put the work in.
How quickly does that settle in with the incoming players, be it transfers or freshmen?
I'd say pretty quick. Everybody wants to fit in at the end of the day. We're social creatures, and people want to be like their friends. So if your friends are out there working every day at 5 p.m., and you're probably going to feel like a piece of crap if you don't go out there and every day. If all your friends and all your teammates are out there working every day, then you should want to be out there with them.
That's right. It's absolutely right. All right, Coop, I want to talk about you, just Cooper for a bit. And the offseason gives us an opportunity to kind of explore your journey through football. And I'm curious, when the first time, obviously your dad played, your brother played, but when was the first time that you thought to yourself, I can be pretty good at this?
I'd say I didn't even really like have a time where it registered. I'd say, I've always been usually whatever I did, I was kind of pretty good at, especially when I was younger. And when you get older, things get a little bit different. So you find out some stuff you're bad at or whatever. But when I was young, everything kind of really came easy to me for the most part, and football was in that kind of thing. So I played football, basketball, and baseball growing up, like most people, and I was really good at baseball, really good at football, and you know, basketball wasn't my thing. I'll say that basketball wasn't my thing, but I always used to get really anxious when we would play baseball. Our dad was really tough on us growing up, so baseball, it's hard to control what you're doing. Sometimes, even the best hitters in the game are only hitting about 300, 350. So, like 35% of your at bats, you're getting a hit, basically, if it boils down to that. So, I don't know. It was really controllable for me in football. Like I always knew I was going to have a good game. I always knew that I was going to do good, and there was no anxiety in it for me. So, I always liked football more, and I always kind of excelled at it. So.
So you were more anxious playing baseball than having 300-pound men running at you.
Basically, yeah. Well, these weren't 300-pound men when I was in fifth grade, but
That's true.
yeah, big boys. No, yeah, for sure. Baseball is just some days it's hit and miss. It just doesn't go your way, and you aren't swinging the bat the way you want to. So, some days you suck, and some days you're great, and you don't really know which day it's going to be driving in. So That's probably what I looked at baseball.
What position did you play in the field?
Third base, batted
Third
fourth.
base.
Yeah,
I
third base and batted fourth.
Okay, so sometimes they just put the big guy at catcher because that's the easy thing to do. They didn't do that with you?
Yeah, I'd say either catcher, first base, or third base. My brother was a first baseman, so that was I don't know. I always like third personally. I don't know. I was a big I don't know who the guy was, but he played for the Mets. Really like legendary third baseman. I don't know who his name is now, but kind of looked up to him.
It'll come to me momentarily. As far as, we haven't talked a lot about your brother, Cade, and if you can kinda describe that relationship for me, was there much of a rivalry at all being close in age, or how would you describe it?
I wouldn't describe me and Cade's relationship as a rivalry. No, we didn't always get along. At a lot of times in our growing up. Our mom wouldn't let us like a lot of people, they want to know if like were y'all just fighting all the time, just fist fights in the middle of the living room. And I'm like, no, no, not really. Our mom didn't let us fight. She was not going to let that happen. And that's just kind of, I don't know if that's right or wrong or whatever, but that's how she had it. And she was not going to have us fighting. So that was that. But me and Cade are really different people. A lot of people think probably surface level. We're a lot more similar now, but growing up, me and Kay were like starch, like opposites, like black and white. So that was that. He was a little bit more rowdy and rambunctious, and I was, real reserved and laid back. And that was kind of I was more like my mom, and he's more like my dad. So we didn't really see eye to eye, and a lot of the things he did really just rubbed me the wrong way, especially when we were growing up. But I think he's calmed down a lot more now, and I came out of my shell a lot more now, and I think it's kind of made it a lot better. He also went to Georgia for 2 years, so 2 years of my life, I was kind of that was kind of when we got the closest, I think, which is weird because like somebody had to leave for college for us to get close, but it eliminates all the times and opportunities for like bad stuff to happen between you two. Like when me and Kay would talk, it would be a lot more sparingly than what it was when we were in high school. So when we would talk, there would only be good things said, and we would just be happy to be talking to each other. So that changed the dynamic of our relationship a lot, and I think that kind of carried over into where we are now.
That's pretty neat. So when opportunity presented itself for him to come back to East Tennessee and play for Tennessee, what was your immediate reaction?
I was super happy. I was more happy not that he was coming to play with me, but more that Cade was happy. That he was going to be at a place where he felt more full and probably wholesome in his life. So he was with his family, and that's a great place to be. So I was really happy for him and happy for what kind of we had ahead for us.
I had somebody tell me one time, sometimes you can learn what not to do from somebody as much as you can learn what to do from somebody. Was there anything in particular you talk about? He was a little bit more rambunctious that you said, I'm not going to do that just because I saw what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can pinpoint any one
You
event.
don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah, but Cade, I'm like any second child. The first child makes all the mistakes, and then it's me. I was the baby and the second child, and I'm more like my mom. So like I was her baby the whole time. So I was very cautious of doing things that like I don't know. My biggest thing growing up was like I didn't want to cause my parents any like stress, like added stress. I knew they had a lot going on. Everybody's parents have a lot going on. It's life's hard, so I really wasn't trying to put any extra weight on my parents' shoulders, and that's all I was focused on.
Gracious. Can you talk to my kids for a little bit? Maybe pass along that message?
Send them the link, man. Send them the tell them to fast forward to about 9 minutes.
I'll do it. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. The Ball Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. 50 years of experience. Integrity matters. When that HVAC unit goes down, you need to know if you just need a part or some Freon or it needs to be replaced, and they'll be able to tell you that. Oh, I wonder too, so about you didn't want to cause your parents any stress. Well, aside from building a house or going through a divorce or something like that, I would think recruiting has to be one of the most stressful things to go through for a family. I covered it for a long time and I saw it firsthand with people. how difficult was that for you and Cade going through back-to-back recruiting cycles? That seems really difficult.
It can be very difficult for a lot of kids. My family kind of didn't. I don't know. We're a lot different than a lot of folks. So like we don't really feed into the recruiting and stuff. Like me and Cade, like I'm pretty sure when Cade got recruited, like there was only like a couple schools that he really actually talked to. Like maybe like however many schools offered him or whatever, but maybe there was like 20, but he really only talked seriously to like 4 or 5, maybe. For the better part of his recruitment, he obviously was dead set on Tennessee, and it took a lot, that took place to get him away from that. But he felt so much was uncertain about what was going on at Tennessee during the time that he was planning to go here. So that changed things. But for the most part, mine and Cade's recruitment was very simple and easy. We kept it very low key and very, not busy. I think a lot of what kids do nowadays is they talk to everybody and think everybody let everybody think that they have a chance. That wasn't ever me or Cade, So I only had like 2 or 3 schools that got my time and attention.
Well, you talk about 2 or 3 schools. Obviously, Tennessee was one of them. That's where you ended up, but there was still uncertainty there. What was, I don't know if it's uncertainty is the right word. It turned out to be uncertainty, I guess. But what was, if you, was the deciding factor and why it was Tennessee?
The biggest thing that resonated with me coming from Pruitt's staff was the fact that he was a Cooper Mays fan from day one to the last day. You know what I'm saying? So there's recruiting's tough. There's a lot of moving parts to it. I was a small lineman and I was waiting to put on weight, which I understand a lot of people were probably scared for that reason. But there were some teams that pulled off and then they realized that, oh crap, like he gained all the weight. He's still playing really good ball and he's still moving very athletically. And then teams were like, oh shoot, let's get back in on it. But Pruitt was there from the day he got to Knoxville, even when Cade said no to Pruitt and went down to Georgia. That never changed one thing about Pruitt's mind, and Pruitt wanted me as a football player. So that was big for me. Also, he told me I could play defense, which was cool too. So that was that. He basically told me, he was like, man, you can play tight end, fullback, O-line, D-line, D-end, linebacker. I don't care where you play, but you're a football player and I want you on my team. So that, a guy like me, I'm like, count me in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're my type of guy. So I was bought in from that point.
Yeah, you're taking snaps before you know it. How long before you showed up on campus did you realize that you weren't going to play 5 positions?
Man, I realized I wasn't going to play 5, but I shortly realized that I was going to play 2. So that was that, or really 3, I guess. I played fullback, tight end, and center throughout my freshman year. Got a start at tight end, I think, and then got a couple starts at center. So that's a lot. And then a lot of earlier games in the season, my freshman year, I had like significant roles in games as a tight end. I think Mizzou, I played like 25, 30 plays, and that was pretty cool because me and Cade both kind of had the same experience because Cade had Chaney at Georgia. And Cade probably wasn't good enough to be in the starting 5, but Chaney was like, this guy's a dang good football player. We need to use him. There's got to be a spot for Cade on the field. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what Chaney's mind process was. And he was like, let's put him at fullback in short yardage, tight end and short yardage, stuff like that. And, when I got there, Chaney sat me down and told me, he said, dude, you're going to be a dang good center, but I don't think that's your spot on this team right now. So I want to work you at tight end and you're going to still play center, but I want to work you as our heavy tight end. So that was like my spot on Tennessee's team my freshman year. And then I think BK was out for like Brandon Kennedy was the starting center at that point. I think he was out for a week or 2. And, I took over for those 2 weeks and got a couple starts and got really good experience. So my freshman year, it was really hard. It was, it was COVID. We didn't have a good team, and I was taking a crap ton of reps at practice because we had really a veteran center in BK, and I was taking all the good on good reps and everything. So it was trial by fire, but it worked.
No, it definitely worked out, and I think it speaks to your athleticism as well that you're able to play those different positions, being as big as you are. When you watch you and Cade on film, do you see similarities other than a couple of Caucasian big guys?
Man, I mean, there's you know the little subtle
Yeah.
similarities, but I think the biggest thing, funny enough, I used to watch my dad's college film back in the day, and he played left guard, and I also played left guard in high school. So when I was in high school, I would watch my dad's games, not to like learn and like critique his film or anything, but I just wanted to watch, like, I was just interested in it. So, and I honestly, I saw like it was like watching myself in a bigger body out there. It was weird. It was crazy.
Your dad has, I think, a really good grasp of how football fits into life. I mean, at the end of the day, it's awesome beating Alabama and Florida, but there is a bigger picture out there. I wonder because I knew him way back then. Did you learn some of that from him, you think?
As far as the perspective kind of thing on life and
Perspective
football,
is exactly the word I was looking for. Yes.
man, I would say yeah, a little bit, but I'd say more from my mom, and I could probably say that my mom was probably one of the ones that taught him that too. My mom's really a really solid woman, and she's very strong in her faith. So it's the stuff that matters to the world and to a lot of people don't really resonate with Melinda. Melinda's focused on where she's going in the end and how we're living right now. So she always lets where our blessings are from and to keep the main things and the priorities the main thing. So she's awesome, but she's who we get our perspective from.
And you've used the term before, I am where my feet are. How would you describe your mom to somebody that's never met her?
um Man, I
She's gonna
it's
be tearing up watching this, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you.
you said she is?
Yes, she's gonna be tearing
Yeah,
up watching this.
yeah, she definitely will. I don't know. It's hard to explain because you kind of have to be around her. But I've told her this before. Like me and it's so weird because my friends all have the same view of her as I do, which is like that's the funniest thing because a lot of people talk about I couldn't have had a better mom. I couldn't like everybody says that, but like let's be real. Like some people are just saying that because it's their mom. Like that's just truly like the fact of the day. Like you're saying that because it's your mom. You don't actually believe she is truly like the best mom possible. But like I truly believe that my mom is like the best mom ever. Like she's super strong in her faith. She always does what she thinks right and she stands on it. 10 toes down. So that's the biggest thing. But another thing is she's just got like a vibe, like a aura, it's like angelic, and like anybody that's been around her feels it and knows it. Like my friends all tell me like there's like it's so weird, like your mom, like there's something special about your mom, how she just like it's just the vibe, the aura she puts out. Like she's just very comforting and I don't know. It's weird. Don't know how to explain it, so I don't really know how to keep trying to explain it.
That works for me. We need to have her on for Mother's Day.
Yeah, heck yeah, heck yeah.
For sure. We can go ahead and get the graphic fixed. Does she have a Twitter handle?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't do social media really. It's not her
Gotcha.
thing.
He is Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. The Vol Report with Coop, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Admittedly, a mama's boy. Would you go that far? Say that, Coop?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
No doubt about it. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, a production of Off Thug Sports.